Millionaire discovers little girl's tearful plea as stepmom dumps her orange juice. An incredible encounter unfolds. Evan stood atop his glass fortress, a self-made millionaire surrounded by accolades and luminescent screens that reflected his triumphs. Yet, the view of Silicon Valley below felt hollow, echoing in the endless chasm of his soul. Staring at his latest award, a vague emptiness gnawed at him. Fame, wealth, and innovation lined his walls, but personal connection was a distant stranger. He craved something more, but what? On a whim, he ventured out to a local park, an unfamiliar world outside his sleek office domain. As he walked past the rundown juice stand, laughter and summer joy surrounded him until a piercing cry stopped him dead in his tracks. 8-year-old Mia, with messy pigtails framing her tear-streaked face, pleaded fervently with her stepmother. "Please, just one orange juice!" The woman, overwhelmed by her own relentless stress, raised her arm, pouring the orange juice onto the grass. It splattered with the contempt of unresolved issues, a sharp reminder of neglect. Evan felt a sudden jolt in his chest. Raw pain flickered in Mia's watery eyes. This wasn't just a simple request. It was a cry for help, a mirror reflecting the isolation he felt in his fortress. For the first time in years, something stirred within him, compulsion driving him forward. He stepped off the manicured pathway and confronted Mia's stepmom. "That's not how you treat a child," he breathed, surprising himself with the intensity of his words. Mia's piercing gaze flickered to Evan, an unexpected glimmer of hope. Something in their brief interaction ignited a bond between them that transcended their worlds, one of stark privilege, the other of deep longing. Evan was drawn into Mia's life, exploring the complexities of emotional neglect and poverty that painted her reality. The disparity haunted him. He felt an intense responsibility brewing within, urging him to use his wealth for more than his own gain. "You can draw, Mia," he said during their first afternoon sketching in the park. The laughter they shared contrasted starkly with his polished life, opening a hidden door of vulnerability. Yet a shadow lingered over their connection. Every smile unearthed Evan's own insecurities. The bitterness of silent resentment clawed at him. How had he overlooked the struggles of those left behind in his rise? The internal conflict churned, guilt intermingled with empowerment, suffocating him. Before long, they faced society's glares. "What do you want with her?" a neighbor questioned, suspicion thick in the air. Their confrontation stoked the flames of Evan's apprehension, questioning his intentions and Mia's worth. Just when the bond seemed unbreakable, an unsettling truth surfaced. Mia's estranged father, cast in shades of family secrets, reemerged. His presence loomed ominously over their fragile world. Now, Evan stood at a crossroads, the weight of his flourishing tech empire pushing against the love he felt for Mia. What mattered more, the empire built on ambition or the deep connection screaming for nurture? The stakes escalated, and reality gripped him tighter. Should he defend the girl who reignited purpose in his life, or would ambition prove too intoxicating to forsake? As a wave of uncertainty crashed over him, Evan grappled with anguish, wondering if life's true wealth lay elsewhere. Would he be able to protect Mia from the chaos closing in? Or would the comforts of success ultimately lead him back to the solitude he desperately tried to escape? The questions spiraled, leaving a storm of tension simmering on the surface, a storm that promised an unforeseen showdown. Evan's mind raced as he retreated to the sanctuary of his office, tension coiling around him like a thick fog. The skyscrapers glinted in the afternoon sun, each one a testament to his success, but instead of comfort, they loomed like towering reminders of his choices. Mia's tear-streaked face lingered in his thoughts, a stark juxtaposition against the polished surfaces that surrounded him. He grabbed his phone, hesitating. A voicemail from his father blinked ominously, but he ignored it. The voice of disapproval. Wouldn't he help him now? His fingers hovered over the screen, torn between reaching out to Mia and justifying the vital business deals awaiting his attention. The polished email client beckoned him, a siren song pleading for immediate action. Yet with every click he made, he felt the weight of indirect neglect smother him, a weight he had habitually drowned out with work. "Evan," a voice interrupted his spiraling thoughts. It was Nathan, his right-hand man, eyes sharp with concern. Are you even listening? The merger finalization is scheduled for tomorrow, but you're acting like you've got other plans. Plans, Nathan? Evan snapped, the frustration pouring out despite his effort to keep it at bay. What do you know about plans? What do any of you know about what truly matters? Caught off guard, Nathan took a step back, his face a canvas of surprise. Realizing he may have gone too far, Evan exhaled sharply, shaking his head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it's just there's something I need to figure out. I get it, boss, Nathan replied carefully. But this merger will open doors. You've worked hard. The words rang hollow. The cold truth gnawed at him. Success didn't fill the emptiness left by authentic connection. He struggled to find balance. Could he fraternize in a world of stark reality and maintain the empires he had built? As day turned to dusk, a choice crystallized in his mind. He had to talk to Mia again, to know she was safe. The intoxicating blend of guilt and an unfamiliar sense of purpose ignited a sudden resolution within him. The following day, Evan wandered back to the park, the scent of citrus still lingering in the air where Mia had unexpectedly crossed his path. The joyous laughter of children filled the air, and for a moment, he lost himself in their world, a world devoid of pretense. But when he reached the juice stand, his heart sank. Mia wasn't there. His frustration swelled, pushing him to scan the park for any signs of her. Just as panic began to whisper in the back of his mind, he spotted her on the other side, sketching with concentrated passion beneath a sprawling oak. Her little fingers gripped the charcoal, the velvety strokes reflecting a vibrancy that felt far removed from the drabness surrounding her reality. Mia! He called, rushing toward her. She looked up, face lighting with an expression that shifted from surprise to delight. I was wondering if you'd come back, Mia said, a small grin breaking through. Evan knelt beside her, studying the intricate lines she created. You're really good at this. Have you thought about sharing your drawings? Her brow furrowed, as if considering the very idea for the first time. I don't think anyone would care. The stark honesty behind her words pierced through Evan. No, Mia. They should care. A fleeting thought cut through him. Could he be the bridge between her talent and the world? Evan's resolve began to strengthen. Perhaps in guiding Mia, he could also rediscover himself, a dual journey of growth and connection. But the undertow of anxiety nagged at him as he contemplated the looming confrontation with her father, realizing that shadows of the past don't fade easily. Can you come and meet me tomorrow? He asked, urgency spilling from his lips. We can think about what to do together. Okay, she replied, her eyes wide with hope. As he walked away, he felt an unsettling energy bubble within him. He was not merely helping a child, he was stepping into his own uncharted territory. The looming question remained: how far would he have to go to not only protect Mia but also confront the very essence of his own life choices? The possibilities felt both thrilling and terrifying, with his next steps promising significant change. Evan paced his office, the sterile environment now feeling suffocating. He had promised Mia they would meet, but the pressure of the merger loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Each tick of the clock echoed the urgency of the upcoming deal, yet a deeper voice inside urged him to focus on what mattered more: Mia's potential and her fragile spirit. His fingers paused over the keyboard as he struggled to balance professionalism and personal responsibility. The inner conflict tightened around him. Perspective shifted abruptly when he remembered the light in Mia's eyes, the way her cheeks flushed with excitement while sketching. She was pure enthusiasm and fearless creativity in a world weighed down by expectations. Maybe this is the distraction I need, he murmured to himself, his mind racing. A decision took form. He resolved to leave the office early and focus on Mia's artistic journey. He had spent so long nurturing his career but had sacrificed his own joys along the way. Perhaps he could use this opportunity not only to guide her but to confront his own ambitions, ones rooted in fulfillment and passion rather than sheer financial gain. As he arrived at the park, the vibrant atmosphere enveloped him. Children played, laughter rang out like music, and the remnants of citrus in the air felt invigorating. His heart quickened when he spotted Mia beneath the oak tree again, her sketchbook spread open, graphic life spilling across the pages. "Mia!" he called out, his voice threading through the sounds of the park. She looked up, and the surprise in her eyes melted into warmth as he joined her. "Did you really come back?" she asked, beaming. "I did. I wanted to see how this masterpiece is coming along," he said, while motioning toward her vibrant sketches. With pride, she turned her book to face him, and Evan studied each stroke as if it were a window into her soul. Images danced on the pages, fantastical drawings seemingly pulled straight from her imagination. "You have a gift, Mia. Have you ever shown anyone your work?" he asked carefully, gauging her reaction. "I don't know," she replied tentatively. "I don't think they would like it." In that moment, Evan felt a surge of determination to bolster her confidence. "They'd be missing out," he asserted. "You could even hold a small exhibition, share your art with people. It could amaze them, just like it amazes me." Her brow furrowed, echoing doubt like an echo of his past. "But what if they think it's bad? What if they think it's amazing?" he countered, a sense of urgency creeping into his voice. He needed her to embrace her creativity, to be the person unrestrained by fear. "Art is about expressing yourself, not about what others think. I've learned that sometimes we stifle our own dreams because we worry about how they'll be perceived." Mia pondered his words, twisting a lock of hair absent-mindedly. "What about you, Evan? Do you ever worry about what people think?" He swallowed hard, a sudden flood of realizations crashing over him. The skyscrapers he built with ambition had silenced his own voice, isolated him within walls of judgment. "All the time," he admitted. "But I've decided I can change that. And maybe, just maybe, I can help you find your voice as well." Determination settled within him, solidifying into undeniable resolve. If he could advocate for her dreams, perhaps he could revive his own. Mia smiled wider, a flicker of hope igniting behind her eyes. "Would you really help me?" "I'd love to," he replied, a heartening warmth expanding through him. They would not only challenge societal constraints but also unearth their authentic selves together. As they plotted potential ideas for her art, he felt a charged anticipation buzzing in the air. Yet a cloud of foreboding lingered at the edges of their exchange, reminding him of the inevitable confrontation with her father that loomed ahead. Evan knew the path ahead would not be simple. They had just begun, but as Mia's laughter intertwined with the delicate sounds of the park, a new chapter had already begun to unfold. Would he have the courage to confront not just her father, but the complexities within his own life that had long been left unchecked? Evan sat cross-legged on the grass next to Mia, their brainstorming session unfolding amidst the hum of the park. A sudden gust of wind sent the pages of her sketchbook fluttering, a whimsical reminder of life's unpredictability. He caught one of the pages, marveling at the intricacy of her design. It was a dragon, fierce yet beautiful, capturing a spirit that matched Mia's own. His heart swelled with pride, and for the first time in a long while, he felt the constraints of corporate life slip away. "Mia, you have to let others see this. Your art can tell stories that need to be shared," he urged, his voice steady, fueled by a newfound sense of purpose. She looked at him with eyes full of uncertainty. "But what if they don't understand?" Her words were laced with a vulnerability he recognized from his own experiences, as if his earlier doubts had now taken root in her heart. He couldn't let her fall victim to that fear, just as he had. "Mia, understanding isn't the goal. Impact is," Evan responded, his own voice momentarily faltering. Would he be wise enough to believe those words? They resonated deeply within him, not only for Mia but also for himself. How long had he been crafting presentations for financial gains rather than pursuing the ideas that truly inspired him? As the duo continued to sketch out plans for her exhibition, Evan felt himself incorporating this project into his own dreams. Forcing a corporate merger into a successful deal seemed small against the backdrop of helping a young artist unveil her soul. The realization struck him that he had yet to explore his own creativity, an element he had deemed unnecessary in his climb to success. Selling art isn't just about money. It's about sharing emotions, connecting with people, he continued, almost to himself. That sentiment struck him hard. Perhaps that was why he left his passion behind. The buzz of endless meetings and dollar signs had drowned out his artistic spirit, locking him into a cage of practicality. Mia's smile grew as the conversations flowed, her initial reservations easing slowly. The prospect of presenting her work to others seemed almost tangible now. But she still hesitated. "What if he says no?" she whispered, mentioning her father. Evan recognized the fear in her voice and his own resolve deepened. "Then we show him why it matters," he replied, not fully grasping how he would do it, but certain that they could unleash something powerful together. What was it about this little girl that pulled the best out of him? He often faced boardroom disagreements, but this challenge felt personal and raw, an encounter with human emotion that business rarely offered. "Let us set a date," he proposed, hand on her back reassuringly. "You need to step outside those walls of doubt. Let us make it happen." As they finalized ideas, Evan envisioned himself with her standing alongside, showcasing the vibrancy of her art. There was a potential connection brewing, a partnership of sorts, blending two worlds that had long felt at odds. All the while, however, the looming shadows of his professional life clung to him. There would be consequences if he didn't play his cards right. The merger negotiations demanded respect and focus. Yet Mia pulled him into her orbit, and it felt renewed, charged with enthusiasm. He became aware that their journey hinged not solely on the creative exhibition but on a shared vulnerability, revealing pieces of themselves that had been long dormant. Would this attempt to bridge his dual lives ignite a passionate fire within him once again? Evan knew the confrontation with Mia's father awaited in the wings, echoing urgency that contrasted sharply with the budding possibilities before him. Could he unite his ambitions without losing sight of the essence he hoped to reclaim? In the midst of playful chaos and laughter, an unsettling thought flashed across Evan's mind. What if pursuing Mia's dreams set off a series of unforeseen events that might change not only their lives but also the corporate world he had conquered? Would he truly risk everything? Evan woke to the sound of his phone buzzing insistently on the bedside table. He could feel the weight of yesterday's revelations pressing down on him as he reluctantly reached for it. A list of unread emails from work awaited him, each with its own blend of urgency and expectation, yet none felt as important as the promise he'd made to Mia. He needed to confront the approaching challenges head-on, not only for her but for himself as well. As he brewed his morning coffee, Evan stared out the window, his mind drifting to the creative project they had outlined together. The idea of an exhibition was still a seedling, fragile but potent with possibility. Would he gather enough courage to embrace the chaos of artistic expression that Mia so freely embodied? The corporate world had taught him efficiency and results, but it had eroded the spontaneity he once cherished. His phone buzzed again, pulling him back to reality. Shifting his focus, he scrolled through messages. A new email from his boss required immediate attention, yet he felt an instinctive resistance rising within him. The thought of rushing to deliver polished reports made his stomach churn, overshadowing the excitement of diving into something that felt meaningful. Could he balance the two worlds he now straddled? Instead of answering immediately, he grabbed a notepad and began jotting down ideas for Mia's exhibition. Visualizing the art pieces, their emotional depth, he sought to capture the essence of what they represented: fearlessness, vulnerability, and authenticity. Each stroke of the pen felt like an act of rebellion against the structured life he had built. By the time he finished, the coffee had gone cold, and the alarm bells of corporate responsibility rang louder. He pondered Mia's father's skepticism and his own impending responsibilities. Would their collaboration withstand scrutiny? That vulnerability they had begun to share felt fragile but necessary. He decided to make a plan. Evan enlisted a few trusted colleagues for lunch to discuss the merger, but instead of merely presenting the figures and forecasts, he prepared to weave a story around the venture. If Mia's art represented connection and emotion, so too could his business dealings. What if he could humanize the process, make it resonate beyond numbers and profits? Sitting with his colleagues later that day, Evan found his heart racing as he shared the narrative he'd crafted. He explained how the merger could enable not just financial success, but also foster greater innovation, potential, and emotional engagement. Their responses surprised him. Each question, each nod of understanding felt like a step toward dismantling the rigid protocol he had adhered to for far too long. Yet as the meeting adjourned, doubt seeped in. Had he done enough? Would they leap at the prospect, or were they bound by convention? That uncertainty loomed larger than ever, a familiar shadow returning to question his newfound resolve. As he left the conference room, Evan's mind shifted back to the urgency of Mia's dreams. He decided to approach her father next, believing she deserved that opportunity. It was time to confront not only her fears but also his own. He could no longer ignore the intertwining threads of their lives. The day passed in a blur as he weighed options, rehearsed words in his mind, and mentally steeled himself for the impending conversation. The more he thought of Mia's tentative smile when discussing the exhibition, the stronger his conviction became. He wouldn't let her down. He couldn't afford to let himself down. As night approached, and Evan stood in front of a mirror, staring at his reflection, fear mingled with determination. The moment of truth approached. He knew confronting Mia's father would test the very values he was attempting to reclaim. Would he be ready, though, to face the potential fallout of intertwining his corporate endeavors with the rawness of artistic expression? With every heartbeat echoing in his chest, he felt the tension rise. It was now or never. For Evan, this moment would be a litmus test, a chance to bridge his dual lives, each breath urging him forward. Would he rise to meet the challenge, or would the fear of the past pull him back into conformity? The stakes were escalating, the encounter on the horizon. Would he gather the strength to embrace the unknown? Evan stepped into the coffee shop across the street, his stomach knotting as he scanned the room for Mia's father. The comfortable atmosphere contrasted sharply with the tension brewing inside him. He wanted to present himself as composed, but his thoughts spiraled in a whirlwind of doubt. What if he failed to win over the man whose approval felt crucial for Mia's potential success? He found a table in the corner, claiming it as a strategic observation post. Not far away, he could see people connecting over steaming mugs, their laughter a reminder of the warmth that art could emit, something he desperately wanted to encourage. As he waited, he fidgeted, reviewing the points he had crafted for their discussion. What surprised him most was the realization that confronting Mia's father was not just about the art. It had morphed into a confrontation of his own insecurities. Did he really have what it takes to advocate for her aspirations? This question echoed in his mind, punctuated by each tick of the clock. Time felt suspended, but it was incessantly pushing him toward that inevitable moment. When Mia's father finally appeared, theoretically calm but inwardly unsettled, Evan stood up, extending his hand. The older man greeted him with a firm handshake, his expression inscrutable. Seasonal threads of skepticism ran through his polite smile, forcing Evan to swallow a wave of anxiety. "Thank you for meeting me," Evan started, his voice steadier than he felt. They settled into small talk about their common interests, both men putting on a facade of ease, yet the air was taut with expectations. Once they transitioned into the real discussion, Evan launched into the narrative he had built, wanting anything but to sound rehearsed. He spoke passionately about the exhibition, framing it in a way that intertwined Mia's artistic vision with the broader implications of innovation and emotional resonance within the community. His hands animatedly sketched patterns of connection in the air as he described how this endeavor could enrich not only Mia's future, but potentially light a spark within others. But as he watched Mia's father listen, he noticed the skepticism bubbling to the surface again. "Evan," he said, cutting through the momentum, "art is subjective. You understand that my daughter is investing her heart into this, right? You can't just sell this as a financial venture." His words struck at the foundation of Evan's confidence. How could he marry the chaos of creativity with the rigid structure of corporate evaluation? Fear crept into his thoughts, but he pushed against it, wanting to showcase the power of merging both worlds. Evan leaned in, dropping the business jargon for something more genuine. "It's not just a transaction. Mia's art has the potential to evoke feeling, to connect people. I believe it can be something spectacular, something that goes beyond profits." He could feel the fervor rising in him, each word propelled by his conviction in Mia. Mia's father narrowed his eyes slightly, weighing Evan's argument. A moment of silence enveloped them, thick and heavy. Had he moved the needle at all? Would his vision resonate, or was it too late to bridge this divide? Evan wrestled with the uncertainty, recognizing this as a reflection of his internal conflict. Just like the merger discussion, this was a gamble, a chance to align two drastically different worlds. And yet, standing at this psychological precipice, he realized he was not just wrestling with another person's skepticism. He was confronting the fears tethered to his identity. Suddenly, Evan found himself at a crossroads. He could retreat, wearing the familiar armor of professionalism, or he could lay bare his thoughts, not just about Mia, but about himself, his need for authenticity and creativity. "Can I ask you something?" Evan ventured, his voice low. "What do you really want from Mia? Is it safety, or is it for her to take risks and grow? She deserves a chance to fly." As he laid down that challenge, he felt a shift, a glimmer of courage emerging within him. Every second stretched onward, framed by the unknown response that hung in the air. Would Mia's father accept this vulnerability, or would it push him further away? The stakes had never felt higher. The undeniable clash of Evan's past and his future, a confrontation that transcended trivialities, now lay directly in front of him. Would he be able to unlock the potential within not just Mia, but also himself in this exchange? And just as a hint of a smile began to creep across Mia's father's face, Evan realized he was standing at the edge of transformation. The next moment would decide not only the fate of the exhibition but redefine Evan's very existence. But nothing had prepared him for the words that came next, words that could either shatter everything or forge a new path forward. "You've put a lot of thought into this, but are you ready to face the consequences of your decision?" Evan's heart raced, the world around him narrowing to the echo of those words. Consequences. The weight of Mia's future suddenly pressed against his chest, an unfathomable pressure demanding clarity where there was only confusion. How could he articulate his readiness, his willingness to embrace whatever lay ahead when he was still so entwined with his own self-doubt? Consequences? Evan repeated, his voice a mix of trepidation and resolve. Are you suggesting that pursuing Mia's art could lead to something negative? Mia's father, thoughtful portions of gray threaded throughout his hair, leaned forward, the scrutiny in his gaze betraying his guarded nature. It means that stepping into the unknown always carries risk. I admire your passion, but if Mia commits to this path, she must understand that not every dream aligns seamlessly with reality. Your plans, while noble, may not protect her from the disappointment that often accompanies creative endeavors. Evan felt the blow intensify. The conversation had shifted, pivoting from abstract aspirations to tangible risks. He sensed criticism, masked as fatherly concern, aimed squarely at his own motivations. Still, the urge to defend himself and Mia surged within him. But a sudden thought struck: maybe it was not entirely about defense. Perhaps it was the chance to illustrate a broader understanding of those very risks. I understand what you mean, Evan said, choosing his words with care. But isn't that true for anyone trying to build something meaningful? Every career carries its own burdens. Every ambition walks hand in hand with fear of failure. Art is just, he paused briefly to find the right analogy, a more emotional endeavor. It ties deeper into who we are. He took a deep breath, envisioning that canvas Mia had painted, its vibrancy a stark reminder of the beauty and messiness of life. Taking another chance, he leaned forward too, matching the intensity of Mia's father's gaze. What if the fear of failure becomes less daunting when there's someone who believes in her talent? What if we redefine those consequences to include growth, resilience, and inspiration? Evan felt a flicker of something within him. They were grappling with the practicalities of life and giving voice to an artist's soul. The idea surged around him, igniting a fire he hadn't fully recognized before. He could not just advocate for Mia. He could show her father the possibility of melding principles she loved with the realities she feared. The silence grew palpable again, each second stretching between them as Evan wrestled with whether he had accomplished anything. Would Mia's father lean into this understanding or retreat into his protective skepticism? After what seemed like an eternity, the corners of Mia's father's mouth turned upward slightly, not quite a smile but certainly an acknowledgement. That is a compelling argument, Evan. I appreciate the stance you're taking. But there's still the matter of your own journey. Are you ready to embrace a world that is unpredictable and filled with challenges? The question shifted abruptly from Mia to himself, and Evan's mind raced. His own path was as winding as any artist's, in a field dominated by metrics and outcomes. How had he hidden behind the facade of finance, convinced that this was the only way through for him? Yes, he stated, almost instinctively. But the word resonated deeper than the surface, reverberating through him. I'm ready to face whatever that means. I've been playing it safe for too long, and I can't do that now. If this means risking my comfort zone to advocate for Mia, then I choose that risk. Evan saw the glimmer of acceptance in Mia's father's eyes. There was an understanding that extended beyond the conversation, a recognition that perhaps they both had layers yet unexplored. Each man stood on a precipice, ready to redefine their narrative. Suddenly, a realization struck Evan. This wasn't merely about Mia's art or his professional aspirations. It was about daring to step into the void of authenticity. It was a call to dismantle the protective walls he had erected, a necessary breakdown for potential growth. He wasn't finished piecing together the identity he wanted. He was merely at the beginning of that reconstruction. As Mia's father took a thoughtful pause, Evan understood that momentum was building again. A partnership was forming, one grounded in not just potential but also shared vulnerability to the unknown. The next words from Mia's father would either cement their alliance, or bring fresh challenges and opportunity to transform not just their perspectives but also the very fabric of their reality. Evan waited, heart in his throat, wondering just how far this navigation of vulnerability and courage would take him. Then show me, Evan. Show me you're ready to stand by Mia through this journey. Are you prepared to commit your time and yourself to make this happen, no matter the storm ahead? Evan's breath caught in his throat at the weight of the challenge. This was no mere conversation about art. It was an ultimatum seasoned with implications about his character, and his readiness to dive headfirst into the tumultuous waters of passion and responsibility. He could sense the gravity of Mia's father's words reverberating through him, a call to action that cut through the fog of self-doubt. Are you prepared? The question echoed, amplifying the storm of thoughts swirling in Evan's mind. He thought about the evenings spent with spreadsheets and forecasts, the years layered with cautious decisions meant to secure a future devoid of unpredictability. Was he ready to leave that behind, to delve into a world where outcomes stood uncertain, teetering on the edge of creativity? Evan straightened his posture, mirroring the newfound firmness that enveloped his resolve. I am, he asserted, the conviction rising in his voice, almost surprising him. With each word, the chasm between who he had been and who he could become shrank. But I need to understand, how can I best support Mia? What does that commitment look like? Mia's father regarded him for a moment that felt infinite, a moment laden with possibility and potential scrutiny. Then, the older man's demeanor shifted, softening into a blend of earnestness and caution. Support isn't only financial. It's emotional, practical. It's about living through failures together, celebrating the small victories. Are you prepared for late nights, long discussions, and the quiet moments of doubt when the world feels heavy? Evan absorbed the weight of those words, each one a thread weaving a clearer picture of what his involvement would require. It would demand more than just intention. It would require stamina, a readiness to endure unpredictability. I want to be there for Mia in every facet of her journey, he replied, feeling a surge of clarity. This wasn't solely about her aspirations anymore, it was about a shared commitment to dive into the unknown together. As the conversation deepened, Evan found himself seized by a rekindled sense of purpose. He imagined collaborating with Mia, helping her navigate critiques, brainstorming ideas, and even facing rejection head-on. The vision was intoxicating, each part of it buoyed by the courage he felt himself assembling. What if we start small? Evan proposed, excitement bleeding through his resolve. A project, perhaps? Something tangible we can work on together. That way, Mia can test her boundaries, and I can be there, learning right alongside her. Mia's father nodded thoughtfully, an approving glimmer in his eye. That's a solid idea. But you must keep in mind that creativity does not always yield what you expect. Do you fully grasp the emotional stakes? Evan hesitated, the reality settling uncomfortably. It wasn't just enthusiasm that would lead them forward. It would require perseverance in the face of potential failure and disappointment. Yet, within that apprehension lay an exhilarating truth. He recognized that the fear of disappointment mirrored his own professional battles, the boardroom negotiations, the tumultuous decisions, the cold practicality that held no space for vulnerability. "I do," he assured, though inwardly he questioned the depths of his readiness. The pursuit of art was a domain where subjective interpretations clashed, where personal investment could lead to the rawest of emotions. This was entirely different from the precise nature of financial forecasts. The stakes were higher, charged with the potential for personal heartbreaks. Feeling the weight of accountability press against him, Evan took a breath, considering what lay ahead. He would not only be advocating for Mia's growth but also confronting his own limits as he embraced an unfamiliar terrain. He watched as Mia's father leaned back, a thoughtful expression settling across his features, a mix of approval and contemplation. "Fine, let's see where this takes us," he finally responded, a tone of cautious optimism in his voice. Evan could sense the opening, an invitation to embark on a path that would redefine both their lives. As they began to sketch out initial plans, Evan felt his excitement grow, a burgeoning sense of vitality wrapped around the prospect of immersion into this artistic realm. Would he indeed thrive under these new circumstances, or would he crumble under the pressure of his own expectations? He couldn't shake the feeling that the upcoming moments would precipitate more than mere collaboration. They would lead him to confront the very essence of who he was supposed to be amid chaotic beauty and uncharted territories. With every pulse of anticipation, Evan could see the forthcoming storms brewing, new challenges, hidden fears waiting to be unraveled. And as he looked into the horizon of possibilities stretched before him, he understood that he was spiraling into a transformative chapter of his life, uncertain yet charged with promise. The question loomed over him, an unrelenting shadow. How far was he willing to leap into the void, and what would he discover about himself in the process? Evan's mind whirred like a mechanical beast, gears of urgency turning against each other, as he sat across from Mia's father. The notion of diving headfirst into a shared artistic venture with Mia flooded his thoughts, overwhelming him with both excitement and trepidation. It felt like stepping onto a tightrope strung high above the fray of his normal, calculated life. Predictably unpredictable, that's how he'd come to understand the realm of creativity, and it terrified him. "Let us discuss specifics," Evan finally prompted, shaking off the ghosts of self-doubt. Ideas raced through his mind like wild horses. "What kind of project do you envision?" "Something that can showcase her talents while allowing me to offer input and support. We need a clear starting point." Mia's father's gaze held weight, weighing Evan's resolve, their stares locking in mutual understanding. "I think an exhibition could work. She has a unique perspective that deserves to be seen." As the words echoed in Evan's mind, the gravity of the situation settled heavier. Mia's dreams and aspirations were now intricately tied to his own willingness to step beyond comfort. "An exhibition," Evan murmured, slowly digesting the enormity of the idea. He thought of preciously curated presentations, the meticulous work that went into managing space, lighting, and audience perspective. The same meticulousness he brought to boardroom presentations. Could he harness that precision in this new context? "Exactly," Mia's father encouraged, sensing Evan's shifting mindset. "But this will require more than just logistics. It's about creating a narrative around her art, something that resonates on a deeper level." A wave of doubt threatened to crash over him, but he held firm against it. "And what if that narrative doesn't resonate? What if I fail her?" The vulnerability of his admission hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, fragile but necessary. "Evan, failure is a part of growth. If you're afraid to stumble, you'll never find your footing in the creative world. Every celebrated artist has faced rejection or misstep. What's crucial is how you rise after," her father replied with an earnestness that propelled Evan forward. In that moment, Evan understood that this was no longer about Mia alone. It was an opportunity for both their personal growth, a chance for him to shed the predictable suit of corporate life and embrace the unknown. Suddenly, the hazards of creativity began to feel less daunting and more liberating. He leaned in, heartbeat quickening, the strategic part of his mind aligned with newfound purpose. "We'll need to build a timeline," Evan continued, mentally constructing the framework around the concept. "Let us map out her ideas, define milestones to ensure we remain focused. I can streamline our progress, manage logistics, the things I excel at." Mia's father nodded, churning ideas of his own. "And I want you both to document the process. There's power in that narrative, too, revealing the rawness involved." Evan found himself embracing the prospect. Could this venture unravel the latent artistic spirit he suppressed? Will he discover his own innovative voice alongside Mia? The path ahead was riddled with uncertainties, yet the thrill of possibility electrified him. As the discussion unfolded, every minute details shaped their budding collaboration. Concepts morphed into plans. Each decision built a burgeoning structure where Evan could contribute, while learning to navigate the emotional landscape of Mia's artistry. Together they could create a space where vulnerability thrived. But as the night progressed, shadows loomed behind Evan's enthusiasm. The fear of not being enough clawed at his resolve. He clenched his fists, recognizing a deep-rooted battle within him, a collision between fear and determination. The impending deadlines, the pressures of shared responsibility, and the vivid reality of public perception sparked anxiety within him. Would he rise to Mia's challenge? Would he become as supportive and steadfast as she wished, or would he falter under the weight of expectation? As he stepped outside, the night air chilled him, uncertainty swirling around him. It was far too soon to tell how this journey would unfold or whether he would make the leap into the uncharted. With the first steps laid out, he could sense that the upcoming days would be pivotal. How would he confront his challenges? How much more of himself was he willing to discover? The answer hung delicately in the balance, pulsing with the fervor of what was yet to come. As dawn broke, Evan stood before the mirror, invigorated by the promises of the previous night. Gone was the uncertainty that had clung to him like a shadow. In its place lay a determined purpose. Today marked a new chapter, not just for Mia but for himself. The impending exhibition was not merely an event, it was the heartbeat of their shared journey, a tangible embodiment of both their aspirations. Mia's father's words hung in the air, propelling him forward. Failure could indeed become a stepping stone to growth, an element to be embraced rather than feared. With every brushstroke, Mia would tell stories of vulnerability and resilience, an ode to unfurling potential. And in the process, Evan found himself at the edge of a transformation. He could champion not just her voice but rediscover his own in the process. Engaging with Mia that morning felt electric. He had promised to be there for her, and as their initial meeting unfolded, he felt an infectious energy take hold. They began to sketch ideas for the exhibition, brainstorming themes, and they started planning how to narrate Mia's journey through her art. The young girl, brimming with excitement, dashed around him, offering vibrant suggestions, her innocence intertwining seamlessly with Evan's methodical nature. In those moments, Evan observed a shift within himself. Every smile from Mia fueled a newfound confidence. Her laughter dispelled the shadows that once loomed over his decisions. He realized that his previous life, filled with stereometrics, had neglected this. The camaraderie of creativity was an unexplored frontier he yearned to navigate. Their brainstorming sessions turned whimsical, filled with sketches and vibrant ideas. He watched as Mia's spirit soared, the flicker of hope in her eyes igniting a passion within him that had long lain dormant. Their connection only deepened with each shared laugh and idea, and Evan found himself pouring into her project ideas that resonated with meaning beyond the conventional. As the exhibition approached, both Evan and Mia faced unexpected hurdles. The logistics were daunting. Securing a venue, gathering materials, and publicizing the event bore down on them like a weight. The challenges hit hard and fast, echoing Evan's own corporate battles. But with every setback, he instinctively pursued solutions. His professional experience shaped their approach, yet this time, it was infused with warmth, creativity, and a passion for something far more important than just profits. Week by week, as the exhibition neared, Evan often found himself reflecting on how he was changing. Moments of self-doubt surfaced, yet they bore a different tinge now acknowledged, understood, and ultimately overcome. The evening before the exhibition, he recalled the panic he once felt in board meetings, yet here he was, embracing the vulnerability of art. With each brush of paint, he championed not just Mia's talent but also the liberation of his own creative spirit. The event unfolded with an electric atmosphere. Mia's work captivated the audience, a tapestry of resilience and imagination sparking conversations that resonated in ways mere numbers never could. As Evan stood beside her, pride swelled within him. The jubilant faces of the attendees reflected not only Mia's achievements but also his own transformation, a recognition that life's true wealth lay not merely in financial success but in connection, creativity, and the courage to leap into the unknown. As the night progressed, Evan found himself surrounded by praises not only for Mia's art but for the inspiring initiative he had taken. Their journey together was a testament to personal growth. Where once sat an isolation of achievement now stood a flourishing bond. For the first time, he felt both honored and fulfilled, not as a businessman but as a man who had dared to build something beautiful from the ground up. Evan knew life would not shy away from challenges and the scars of past experiences would continue haunting him. Yet, each battle won alongside Mia brought him closer to a newfound self-acceptance and understanding. He had not only advocated for a young girl, he had pioneered a path toward his own authentic self. Reflecting on the unfolding journey ahead, Evan felt a compelling urge deep in his soul, something he had craved all along, a reason to engage beyond profit, a mission to empower creativity, and a passion to connect on a level far deeper than before. His success could flourish anew, but now, it would intertwine seamlessly with the stories that matter most. Today was not just a conclusion, it was a profound beginning. This was his evolution, marked by joy, artistry, resilience, and a commitment to growth. Evan realized the vibrant tapestry he had begun to weave, and he felt at home not just in his achievements, but in the very essence of who he was becoming. Now is the perfect moment for you to embrace this journey alongside Evan and Mia. You need to subscribe now to witness the next compelling stories of personal transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Comment your reactions and theories about their journey. Your participation is crucial. Be part of these narratives that shape lives.